Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Mass Swingers. Today we have a return guest that's been requested by all of you. So it's Jacki Schechner. Now, Jackie's the Vice President of Media Relations for the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, or AHF. So she's been on before, and just as a reminder, they're the largest HIV and AIDS healthcare nonprofit globally. All right, so they provide free STI testing, PrEP, and PEP prescriptions. We'll make sure to put the link to their website in the show notes. Jackie's also a member of the lifestyle community, and so we will talk about that a little bit. But for the most part, this episode, we're going to be talking about STIs, relationship dynamics within the E&M space, their advocacy, and more. If you've had a lot of questions about how do STIs spread, how quickly they spread, what sort of treatment you can take if you found yourself with one, this is the episode that you want to listen to. With that being said, let's just go ahead and hop in.
Welcome back to the Mass Swingers. Today we have the wonderful Jacki back with us with
Hi.
AHF. So happy to have you back.
It's good to be back. I had so much fun last time. I couldn't wait to come back.
Your shit has gone more viral than anything else we've ever done because the people want to hear it.
Oh, it's
There's-
really sweet. I
There's
don't
so
know
many
why.
questions. Well, first of all, you're beautiful. You're a great speaker,
you.
and also like there's so many questions that we all have that everyone's like, I don't know. Like,
I take it for granted. I always
Mhm.
assume people know. And so when I'm presenting information and I realize it's the first time for a lot of people, it always surprises me. And it shouldn't at this point, but I always just assume everybody knows what I know.
Well, I think there's a lot of information and there's a lot of misinformation.
Yes. That's
And that's
very
the
true.
problem. Is like there's an overwhelming amount of people saying what they think is right.
Yeah.
And then they conflict.
That's very true. Well, there is no primer, right? When you get into this whole scene, if you're having sex with more people than you have in the past, there's no informational manual on how to do the nuts and bolts.
Mhm.
So what happens is people just kind of stumble through it. It's trial and error. And a lot of times it's more error. And unfortunately, you end up in a challenging situation and don't have all the answers. So hopefully we can clear some stuff up.
Please. I mean, I don't know how honest we want to be on the pod or not. And that's what's so great about me editing everything because I can do whatever the fuck I want. But
We're not going to talk about anyone's like current STI
no.
status.
Like,
And-
what's
and-
your like? We're
Well,
No.
so what sparked it though is every once in a while people feel like there might be an outbreak happening.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Can we talk about it to that extent?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that
Okay.
gonorrhea is alive
I'm
and
comfortable
well.
talking about it if you all are comfortable talking about it.
We should.
Here's what I will say is that I've been doing this about 7.5, 8 years. We're currently in what I think has been one of the most surprising spread outbreak of gonorrhea that I've seen in my 8 years.
So it's funny because last time you were on the show, we are like, are we having an outbreak or not? And we decided we weren't because it would exponentially be hitting more people. And then that's what started
That's what
happening.
happened.
That's what happened. But it just started happening over live. Like it exponentially hit a bunch of people at
Yeah.
once. And then everyone that we know got tested. But what I do love about the community was that there felt like there was a full stop.
There was. When we finally got all the information, there was a full stop. And that was what was really important was no play parties right now. Everybody go get tested, get all your sites tested, and don't play with anybody until you know that you're clear.
Even with your partner. It's like, don't even play
Don't
with
even
your
play
partner.
with your partner. That's the other thing.
And
Somebody did ask me. They said, "Can we pass it back and forth?" And yes,
You
you can
can.
pass it back
You
and forth
can.
with your partner.
Oh yeah.
So it's wild because like my partner and I aren't having sex right now. And I said the other day, I was like, man, is this what like normal marriages are like? Like, we're not even having sex with each other. This is like normal life for people. I don't like it at all. We are getting a lot of stuff done though. Like, we're like crazy
You're so much
efficient
more productive.
around the house. Yeah.
Brian's all, what's your name? Where are you from?
I like got new pesticides for the plants. So, like there's so much.
Are you
more-
masturbating?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
for sure.
Are you
for sure.
mutually masturbating?
We have been helping each other out.
Okay.
To the extent what sucks is I said I wasn't gonna watch porn this month, remember?
Yeah.
And then
Wait,
this
you weren't going to
happened.
watch porn?
I was taking the month off alcohol
Why?
and porn. I
Oh,
just
alcohol, I understand. Why porn?
I just for the same reason. Like I just feel like if you're not addicted to something,
No, you shouldn't watch
you
porn and drive, definitely.
Yeah, I've been telling him
Who
for
does that?
years to stop doing that. Yeah.
Don't watch it and drive. Don't watch it on an airplane. I think it's frowned upon. But no, I just wanted to take a break to be like, I'm not addicted to porn. I can just like stop watching anytime I want to. So it's
How'd
just
that go?
I do this. That
Yeah,
was
how's it
way
going?
harder than alcohol. Way
Really?
harder. Oh, significantly.
Oh, that's so
significantly
surprising. How much
so.
porn do you watch?
It's not the volume. It's just like
It's the quality.
It's the free. It's not like I watch it every day, but it's probably like once a week or something.
No,
Once or
come
twice a week,
on.
it'll
Cut the
happen.
shit. You're watching it more than once a
Well,
week.
I have sex more often than I watch porn.
You're come on. You're
That's a good
watching
ratio.
at least once a day.
I don't
Once a
watch porn.
day.
No, I don't watch porn once a day.
Do you think most men are watching porn like once a day? At least every other day?
I think a lot of men are probably watching porn pretty often.
Because I asked
Yeah.
Brian this question on
I
the
think
pod.
women watch it too. We just don't talk
Oh, for
about it.
sure. Oh, for sure. I've probably watched porn maybe 2 or 3 times a month, but I just don't masturbate that much because I'm not a horny person, which is shocking to most.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Yeah, I like attention more than I like sex. That's why I go to parties.
Right.
So
Right.
At least you
But
know the
I know that.
motivation.
I know
when
myself.
she asked me, I was saying, well, like I look at my own videos differently than I do porn. So if we're talking about like produced porn, then I can be like, oh, I probably only watch that like once or twice a week. But
Do
I
your
tend
own
to.
videos count as porn, do you think?
That's what we were debating.
Mhm.
What do you
That's what we were
think? Do they?
debating.
Um, it was I don't know. I think it's if you're doing it because you don't want to jerk off, then I would imagine that would still be like unsafe with what you're trying to accomplish. But if it's more so like you're trying to feed, like what you said last week, you don't want to succumb to like that porn engine
That
and like
loop.
right. And
Can you
so
masturbate without porn?
yes.
Can you masturbate without?
I can, but I find it harder. I end up having to like come up with scenarios that I think are sometimes more damaging.
I kind of want to know what these
I
scenarios
know,
are now.
Right?
what?
Like I don't want to. So like, okay, then if you masturbate and I'm thinking about, let's say I'm thinking about you,
Mhm.
right? Because we played before, then that feels worse than like
Why?
just watching a video with you, or
Oh,
like
I'd
shouldn't
be
I be
so
thinking
flattered.
about
Yeah,
one?
why?
I love that. If somebody tells me that I shouldn't
It's not
say.
about how
Oh,
you
no, no.
feel.
It's
That's how
I
I
love
want
that.
my wife to feel. I don't want my partner to feel weird. It's like, yeah, I jacked off today thinking about Jackie.
why do you
Why
Yeah,
not?
why not?
I mean, if we've all played before and that's a memory or
Yeah.
a cool scenario we've all had.
You're both so loving and caring in how you're
I
saying this. I do not,
yeah.
I don't think for a lot of guys that would go over well.
Really?
I think if
So
I were in a monogamous relationship and we weren't in the lifestyle and my partner told me they masturbated to somebody else, I might feel some kind of way about it. But the fact that we're in this community and we have these experiences together, if you're bringing up a memory of a good time we had, I wouldn't be I don't think I'd be upset if my partner said, "Hey, by the way, I masturbated to that time we hung out with so and so."
Right.
I think that would be really cool
that's
actually.
interesting.
I think that'd be cool too.
I'm not gonna test it. I'm not like it's not worthy for me to test it.
I'm gonna
Uh-uh.
text your wife
You
right
know,
now.
I think we both could ask
she
her.
I
listens to the
totally.
podcast too. I'm not even gonna admit. Like we're gonna move on. So
Oh, it's so funny how uncomfortable that makes
I'm
you.
very
I love
uncomfortable.
ma-
It's
look,
not. It's
watching
not
him
worth.
squirm.
It's not worth the. It's not even worth the discussion.
Oh, so interesting.
You
I don't
know.
know that would be maybe it would be a touch point. I don't know, but
I think I feel better being like, hey, I did watch something today, but it was like the time we played with this person.
mm,
Because now she's included in that might feel better than like I thought about that person.
Okay, so
interesting.
you'll think about people and scenarios and you'll get off to it, but you would never admit that.
I didn't say that.
He takes the fifth.
That's not what
He
I
doesn't want to
said.
incriminate himself.
Clip
But
that.
let's talk about hopping into what we want to talk about today. And thank you everyone who submitted questions about STIs. There
Oh,
was
we got
no
questions.
Yeah.
there
We
was
got a
no
lot.
shortage of them. It's like this, we've been trying to do this thing where if we know a guest is coming up to throw it to the audience, either on social or on Discord to see what they think about it. And there were a lot of questions. One of them was there's a lot
Should
of
I give the caveat that I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, but I do work for AIDS Healthcare Foundation, and so I'm steeped in a lot of this information because we do HIV and STD, other STD testing
that is helpful.
and treatment.
That's helpful. And we're not giving anybody advice on
No,
how
no,
to
no.
live their life at all on
No.
this call. So we're
You
just
should see a
answering.
doctor. If you think you need to see a doctor, you should see a doctor. Yes.
So one was like how STIs actually work and spread, and is that there's probably misinformation and people don't really understand how quickly it can jump from one person to another. And I think that's something that you shared. I know you two had a call
Mhm.
about this, and you're saying you learned some stuff
Oh yeah.
that was new. So what don't most people know about the spread of STIs and how
That you can get a sexually transmitted infection from oral sex. I think a lot of people don't think about that. And what happens is when people go to the doctor or your regular STD check, you'll get a blood test done or a urine test done, and they'll test for genital infections. They don't usually do an oral swab, they don't usually do an anal swab. So, unfortunately, you can miss sites. And the testing has to be site specific because you can get oral gonorrhea or chlamydia. So, you have to be able to test in all of the different areas in order to determine whether or not somebody has a sexually transmitted infection. So, what could happen, for instance, I was giving you this example, and I'll just use us as an example here just to make it easier. If I go down on you, let's say I have oral gonorrhea and I go down on you, I can give it to you, right? Then you go and you play with Layla. Then you can pass it on to Layla. She goes and plays with her husband. She passes it on to him. So in this course of passing it along, it can come from my having gone down on you and then you having sex with Layla. There's so much transfer of bodily fluids that that's how it can then get transmitted. You go down on a woman, you have it orally, you can give it to her. Like there's lots of different ways for this to transmit. It can all happen in the course of a night. If we're going to a party and we're playing with lots of different people, it can get transmitted over the course of an
Yeah, does
evening.
it have to incubate in you, or is it like you can once it's on me,
Once it's in
it can
you,
already pass
yeah,
like
That
yeah,
is
5
what
minutes later?
That's what I
yeah.
didn't know. So when Jackie and I were on the phone, I was like, "Oh my fucking
I
god."
mean,
I
it's
had no idea.
yeah, I mean, you don't know. Not everybody's necessarily going to get it, right? It depends on your susceptibility to it and the antibodies in your body, and it's the same way with a cold or a flu. Like you're not necessarily always going to get it, but if somebody has it, the other thing is you don't know how long somebody's had it, right? So it could incubate in my body. I give it to you. It's just the problem is it just spreads, and it spreads very quickly and very easily. It takes 2 to 14 days to incubate, but it doesn't mean that it's not in your system.
But once it's there, is it location specific? Like if I have oral gonorrhea, it stays there, or will it spread? So eventually, like 2 weeks later, if I go take a urine gonorrhea test, will it
No,
be
it'll stay in your
positive?
throat. If you have
Okay.
oral gonorrhea, it's gonna stay oral. It's not gonna what it will do though is if you don't get it treated, it can cause other problems in your body.
So that's what I asked a doctor about this, and they're saying like we want to take these seriously because it's the challenge is that there's treatment for all of these things now, right? And so people don't take them as seriously as they should. They said something like if you blew them up and put them on a t-shirt, no one would want to get these things once you see what they look like inside your body. She's like,
Yes.
it's like trimmers and they come out the ground and like they
Yeah.
eat you. You wouldn't want it. But um it's definitely not something that you want. And later they can cause problems from having them at some point.
Yeah, because a lot of times you don't have symptoms, you don't know that you have it, right? So it can live in your body for a while. It can cause all kinds of problems within your body if it's in there for a long period of time.
I have a crazy question. This isn't actually on the list. This might feel stupid, but
There are no stupid questions.
I thank you. There are stupid
I
questions,
might not
but
have
let's
the
not count
answers,
this
but
one
there
as
are
a
no
stupid
stupid
question.
questions.
We can make fun of Brian later.
Okay, all right. So
He's in the hot seat.
when COVID happened,
Yes.
COVID-19 happened. Are you allowed to say that on YouTube still? Or are they still blocking? Whatever.
Shit, who
So
cares?
we're gonna find out.
Wait, you're not allowed to say COVID-19?
Remember for a while you weren't. They didn't want people to say it, but anyway.
That's
So
weird.
look, I was like, man, if everyone just stays home for like 3 weeks and gets treated, then like would this thing go away? And I kind of have had the same thought about like gonorrhea and chlamydia, right? It's like if you I know this isn't gonna happen, but like if you could stop all sexually active people from having sex for like 2 weeks, and
Could
this
you
is
eradicate
just
it?
like yeah, could you test everyone, treat the people that are treated, it will be eradicated, and then the whole world would be gonorrhea and chlamydia free.
Ugh, God, I don't know. I
Or
mean,
do they kind of like pop up out of nowhere, like just
I think
with the
the world
right
you'd
ingredients?
have to vaccinate the world. I mean,
Right.
that would be a very difficult or not even vaccinate, you'd have to treat the world. I mean, that would be a very difficult thing to do. I
I
think in
think it's
it
incredibly difficult,
yeah.
but like do you think that would work mathematically or scientifically with that?
Probably not.
Probably.
People are on different sex schedules. Oh, you know what I was gonna say earlier is that what's happened now with sexually transmitted diseases, especially gonorrhea and syphilis. Because they're curable, people don't take them as seriously, right? Because I'll just get the shot, I'll just take the antibiotics, whatever it happens to be. They don't think about the fact that once you get an STI, you're more susceptible to get another STI, right? It's if you get an STI, you're more susceptible to get HIV. Like there are repercussions to having sexually transmitted infections. Just getting them over and over and over again isn't good for you. So it's not just as simple as, oh, I'll just go get treated. There's actually problems to that down the line to your health and to the well-being, obviously, the people around you. But that's what's happened now too, is that people are with the emergence of PrEP, a lot of people are using less condoms, and that is causing the spread.
So let's talk about
of
that
STDs.
because it's prep. Last time you were on, we
Yeah,
talked about prep and PEP and how like in the lifestyle space, there's not as many people on prep.
there isn't.
But in the space you tend to work with,
I did ask the question actually. Last time we talked about why women are women on it or should women be on it? And absolutely women can be on it. There's two of the three that are okay for women, Truvada and Apretude. Descovy has not been approved for women. But women generally haven't been on it, I think, because it's not studied as much for women or hasn't been. And so I think there's probably a little bit of hesitation. And then there's also the stigma. I think
Yeah.
there's still in a lot of communities the stigma around even talking about HIV and AIDS. So I
oh, that if you're
think
on it, you're probably gay.
yeah, or yeah, that or for women just getting to a place where, having to explain to their partner why they're on it or which is another conversation because that also kind of has to do with why people are using less condoms, I think. But there's still a stigma around protecting yourself or, I'm clean, why would you need to be on that? And it's such a
Mm-hmm.
damaging word to use,
I
clean and
know.
dirty, but that's the kind of language that makes people uncomfortable to take care of their health.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk more about like the complications that you can face if you don't get it treated. What type of complications?
It's like your kidneys, your liver, like it can affect your internal organs is what it can do. It
Well,
can
your
it
lymph
can
nodes for
cause
sure. My guess is there's probably like types of cancer or something that you're like
More
more
susceptible.
untreated over
susceptible to.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's having an infection in your body. So over time
And
it's
that's
gonna
if you
cause
don't have
damage.
like acute like symptoms from it.
Right.
Right. If there's like no burning or irritation
Well, that's
happening
the other
from it.
problem too, is a lot of times it has no symptoms. So you
Right.
have no way of knowing. I think a lot of people who got tested this time around didn't have any symptoms.
Right.
And they just went and got tested because they were notified that there was an exposure. And then they found out through testing.
It's difficult asking your doctor to get tested when you don't have any symptoms because everything is based off medical necessity. So, especially if you're trying to utilize your medical benefits
Yeah.
and you're not showing symptoms, it's not going to be covered.
That's one thing that's been trippy to me is how different medical like different companies are treating it, different doctor's offices. Because for me, it was no issue when I went in. I was like, hey, I want to get tested. I might have gotten exposed. They're like, cool, we're gonna give you the shot and we're gonna go ahead and treat you for chlamydia, even though you probably don't
Gonorrhea.
have it. No, they treated me for chlamydia too.
Oh, in addition
They
to the gonorrhea.
preemptively, they're like, it's often like 50% of the time, if you have one, you have the other. So we're just
Mhm.
gonna treat you. And this was before I even got the results back. It was same day.
Oh,
So I
interesting.
got tested 5 minutes later, got treatment for both. And it was no issue. But it's kind of shocking to me that not everyone's approaching healthcare the same way for their patients.
No. I mean, the reason we all found AHF originally, I think, is because they do extragenital testing, that they by default will do the urine and blood, and then they will also do your oral swabs and your anal swabs. And that wasn't true of a lot of places. So when you're trying to get that comprehensive testing, we were all looking, I think, for a place to go, and AHF was providing that. I think it should be standard. I would lobby for that. I think that healthcare providers, when they're doing an STI screening panel, should by default do oral and anal swabs as well.
Mhm.
Because we're never going to stem the epidemic of oral gonorrhea if you're not swabbing for oral gonorrhea. We're not going to
Hmm.
stop oral chlamydia if you're not swabbing for it. And all you're doing is passing it on.
Why aren't they
So
doing it then?
I think I think it's an expense thing.
Yep.
I would imagine, right? Like
Yeah.
the insurance companies don't want to cover it, and
I could go on and on.
Yeah, because I could see them saying like, we don't want to preemptively treat stuff because we don't want antibiotics to become less effective
well,
faster.
that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Absolutely,
But
yeah.
they're not even treating it. They're not even testing
They're not
for
even
it.
testing for it. I think it's laziness. I think it's time consuming. And I
Mm.
think it's probably there's a cost, the lab costs, the
Mhm.
insurance costs. I mean, we're a medical system, it's a profit driven medical system. So
Mhm.
what's going to happen is people are going to cut corners where they can. And frankly, if you're talking about the average, like, heterosexual couple, right? Or like, you're not testing as often as we're testing because you're not having sex as often and you're not having sex with as many people as often. So the standard test is probably sufficient. You're probably not being exposed to a heck of a lot. We've upped our numbers, so we up our risk.
Well, there's also this openness, and you make such a good point because I did talk to another medical professional, and they were saying that in a normal couple, when someone gets an STI, it is a humongous deal. Like
Oh
this is
yeah.
not, it's not a casual
Yeah, no.
conversation. Someone stepped out. There's curiosity about where it comes from. There's no trust. So when they go and they tell them, "Hey, don't have sex for 3 weeks," they're like, "That's fine. We're not having sex for months until we figure this thing out. It's not a problem." But there kind of is this because it is we're so open and our we know who our partners are playing with and things like that. There is kind of like a certain, oh, we got it, you got it too. kind of deal with that lightens the.
We are much more open about it than, and I will say I'm much more open about it now than I ever was before I fell into the lifestyle, because it wasn't something that you ever really talked about. I mean, frankly, like, I don't know that people are talking about condoms as much as they should
Right.
be. So they're certainly not talking about STIs.
Well, I'm thinking about when I was in elementary school or doing sex ed or whatever, and they're talking about STIs, and the only thing that they really showed us were these graphic pictures and videos and being like, don't get one of these.
Yeah, you don't want this monster.
Right. And like, that's all I knew was
It's like a little animated,
Yeah.
like cartoon, like,
Is it a
the
cartoon? Yeah.
like the Mucinex guy, you know, like it was just scary. So
I
they're
think
just
we actually at one point had a syphilis sore named Phil, if I'm not
up.
mistaken. No, I think there is. I'll have to find it for you.
Please find me, Phil.
I think AHF. I think that's what his name was. It was like a syphilis sore that we had
You
like a
need
little
to,
animal
you need to do
mascot.
you need to do scarier ads. That's what it is. Like more billboards.
Their billboards
You
are already
know,
pretty scary.
I know.
The
but
eye
you
syphilis
need,
freaked
like,
people out.
That
it-
freaks me out.
You need like to see gonorrhea and chlamydia chasing you down the freeway. Like the car next to you is chlamydia.
It's coming for you.
It looks like a monster. I saw a picture of that. Google it, people. Look at what they look like.
But here's the
It's
thing.
gnarly.
I can agree with that, and I think that that's an avenue that people will take, and AHF has taken. But like, do you also suspect that might continue the stigmatization of the STI themselves?
Oh, it could. It certainly could. I mean, anything that people are unfamiliar with is going to freak them out.
Yeah.
And
Well, the purpose of the billboards and stuff is you want people to go get tested.
we want people to get tested. That's the whole point.
Right.
And frankly, as an HIV and AIDS healthcare organization, I mean, we're a public health organization first and foremost. And so what we're trying to do obviously is contribute to positive public health, and that means screening for STIs and getting people tested and treated. But another thing that we're doing, because we're HIV, primarily HIV focused, is when you screen for STIs, that's how you screen people for HIV, right? And you can get people who will go in specifically for HIV, but you can get them. HIV testing is part of your STI screening. So when you go in, you can capture people who might have a reactive test if they're coming just for an STI screening panel. So it's one way for us to capture people and get them into treatment, which is ultimately what we're trying to do.
Right. Right. We're just trying to treat it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're trying to treat, what we're trying to do is get people to undetectable is what we're trying to do, right? Because if you're undetectable, you're untransmittable. And so we're trying to capture people, like until we have a vaccine or a cure, what we're trying to do is get it to the point where people aren't spreading it to other people.
If someone's undetectable, are they still advised to disclose?
I always say disclose. Absolutely. I mean, it's important to disclose. I don't know if people do. I would imagine that in the community where men have sex with men, that they're not always disclosing. But I would imagine that if you're an ethical, truth forward person, that you would disclose your status. I would hope that you would disclose
I
your
would hope
status.
so too. I think I would want to know.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, of course
absolutely.
I'd
Yeah.
want to know for sure. But like, I also imagine it would be really scary if I had an STI and maybe I went to a party and didn't play. And I was like, oh, like I have gonorrhea, so I can't play. I would almost be nervous that people wouldn't even want to like get too close. I don't know. Like I'm still
You still
stigmatizing
have
it.
that
kind of
stigma.
it reminds me
do.
of like when Magic Johnson got it and no one they didn't want to play basketball with him
Yeah.
for a while.
Well, because
until
we
they
didn't know
understood it.
originally, they didn't know how it
Right.
was spread. And
Mm.
so there was a lot of stigma and fear.
But you make a good point. Like the parties that tend to require testing, if you are positive, they tell you not to come to the party,
Mhm.
right? And so are you saying like if like how would someone end up in that situation? Like the party didn't test and you know you're positive
I mean, I've
and
been
you
at
still
parties where
go?
people are not playing because they have something, but they haven't disclosed that they have something. That's happened in the past. And I was not pleased with that. I mean, not that I was going to play with somebody, but
Right.
I'd like to know if I wouldn't not come near you. I
Right.
just want to know. I mean, for me, I always err on the side of transparency. I always just think in this community, transparency is king.
Yep.
Or queen. So I think it's very important, no matter what, to disclose your health status, disclose your partnership status, disclose your standards, your agreements, your boundaries. I think all of it. Disclosure is just the default, and that's the way that you keep everything safe and copacetic.
Okay. I want to ask
The
about
look on your face. I don't know what you're thinking, but the look
well,
on
because
your
Layla and I have
This
had
is why doing this is so fun.
we've had an ongoing argument about people not playing at play and all the reasons they don't play. We're not going to open that can of worms. So
I do have a
the
pet
la-
peeve.
Go on.
Don't fall asleep in the middle of the room.
That's what I'm saying. Go home, Layla. That's
Like
what
there
I'm
are
saying.
people
There's
who just
so
like
many
crash
situations.
out in the middle
just
of the
That's
room.
so
crash
different than
out,
what
or
you're
they're
saying,
just
Brian.
like
That is so different than what.
chilling and
So
staring.
the last 2 episodes, Brian
Uh-huh.
and I have had like heated debates because he thinks that if people are consistently going to parties and not playing, that they should just get the fuck out.
Consistently.
What if the girls just want to dress in their lingerie and like walk around and be cute and see their friends and do this? And Brian's like, yeah.
You know what? If there's not a limit on how many people you can have at the party, then I think it's okay.
What if it's a 30-person party?
I think everybody should want to be there to engage. I don't know. To me, that's
Look at him. He's gonna come in his pants right now.
Thank
coming
you.
with his
But only
And
because it's a
Jackie's a
small-
woman. Now
yeah.
look, we love these people too, and like it just throws that we've been in enough parties where the dynamic is drastically thrown off.
Yeah.
When like a
When
bunch of
a
people
bunch
are
of
on the
people aren't
bench,
playing, yeah.
you know, and for women who feel that are playing, feeling more pressure therefore to play because a bunch of other people are on the bench or vice versa.
I just want a hell yes from everyone in the room. If it's a small party,
Mhm.
I want a hell yes from everyone in the room. I want everyone to want to play with the people who were there, and I want people to be enthusiastic about engaging. Go to a different party, right? A larger
Don't look
party.
at me. Don't you dare
I
look at
love.
me.
Can I
Don't.
touch your
No,
hand?
I don't want to touch
Just
you.
please touch my
No.
hand.
Eh.
Most people agree with Layla, and that's okay. I just said
It
I
is
wasn't going to
okay.
change my opinion.
No, and that's okay. Like I
it's-
love my friends, and I will want to be around them no matter what. But I think if you're creating a small play environment, that's what you've curated intentionally.
Mhm.
Then I would be inclined to not invite the people who don't play. And there are people in the community who are known to not play as much.
But there's plenty of things where it's like, hey, come to my house, hang out. Mo Vibes, for example, right? He's been on the show. Come to my house, come hang out outside by the fire pit in the hot tub. If you want to play, go inside. And so there are plenty of parties.
Oh, I've been at his
where
house
there's
several
like,
times
you
where
don't have
we
to
don't,
do
yeah.
it, right? And so I'm not
And
talking
it's a
about all
great time.
parties.
Like you
Yeah.
can sit out and talk to people and hang
Yeah.
out with your friends, and then people can go play in another
Yeah.
part of the house.
We'll
and-
move on from that couple more
Well,
can
real
of
quick, I
worms.
just want to say
'cause-
I can agree with like the small curated events. I can agree with that. I'm talking like 30 plus, like 30, because 30 people's a lot of people. So 30 people plus, and Brian is like all gung ho on his little pattern kink, where he's just like,
So-
he's just watching everyone.
I'm not watching
like,
everyone.
And, you know,
But-
I'm thinking, who's not fucking Brian? That's making him so mad
Yeah.
to like be like,
There must
"Why
be
aren't-"
someone.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm doing fine. Like, I just got a shot in my ass for no reason. Like I'm doing okay.
I know we
It
could
was
go
so
on and on.
funny, by the way. So when I got
I'll give you a secret.
when
I got the shot too.
You got the shot?
I was
High
negative,
five.
but I got the shot
Got
too.
the shot in
Because
the
I just
ass.
didn't want to waste any
So-
time.
Yeah.
It was like, all right, just in case.
Yeah.
Just do it. And it's brutal. That shot is not fun.
Okay, so it didn't hurt me. It didn't hurt me actually much
What?
at all. I think I have a lot of like muscle on my ass. So
Brian's like, I'm really
that is-
tough,
that is
so it didn't hurt.
it's not that. All right.
seen his ass?
It's
I'm
that.
so
Have you
big
seen
so big and strong.
In
I mean,
the
I have
show
an ass
notes,
too, but
people, we
mine's
will
not,
put pictures of my ass so you can see why it
That's
didn't
not-
hurt. Okay, but no, but seriously, so how quickly we doubt healthcare professionals. So I walked into the office and it was an RN that was giving me the treatment. And so he came in and he was like, "Hey man, all right. So do you want it in the arm or you want it in the ass?"
No, it always goes in your ass.
That's what I thought too. So
Yes.
everything I'd been hearing from the group chat was like, "You got to do it in the ass. It hurts like a bitch. Oh my god," because everybody talks. I was like, "I don't think you can put it in the arm." And he's like, "I do this all the time. You can do it in the arm. You got plenty of muscle up there. I can do it in the arm. Or do you want it in the ass?" And it was a really tough question to answer because of how he was asking. It's like me and alone in the room with another grown man.
Brian walked in with no pants, already spread eagle. He's like, well, I'm already here.
No, it doesn't go in the ass.
Yeah. No, he left the room and I like went on ChatGPT and I was like, "Does it need to go in my ass or not?"
What did ChatGPT say?
ChatGPT was
I've
like,
never heard it anywhere but the ass.
ChatGPT was like, "No, it has to go in the muscle." So ChatGPT was like, "It's
Oh.
got to go in a big muscle." So either like the thigh or like the buttocks.
I like
Right?
that it would think that my muscle in my ass is big enough to take the shot. I like that.
That's what it
What a
assumes.
compliment.
So anyway, I took it in the ass. So DoxyPEP. I want to talk about DoxyPEP. That's what I've been
What
trying
a
to get to for a couple
transition.
minutes.
And transition.
Because
Amazing.
last time you were here, we talked about
Yeah.
PrEP, which is, you take that all the time, so that it's a daily.
Yes.
And then we talked about
It's either a daily pill or a shot every 2 months.
okay.
Yeah.
And then we talked about PEP, which is post exposure. So
Yes.
if I think I have been exposed to HIV, then I can take this afterwards.
Yeah.
I thought it
It's
was
like the morning after pill. You take it within 72 hours.
now is PEP the same thing as DoxyPEP?
No, 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 no.
DoxyPEP's a completely different thing.
DoxyPEP is doxycycline. It's an antibiotic. You take 200 milligrams after a play environment, perhaps, or an orgy, or whatever you want to call it, to allegedly stave off the risk of STIs. It's shown to be effective for chlamydia and syphilis, not as effective on gonorrhea. It's only been studied in men who have sex with men or transgender people, transgender women. It has not been studied significantly in women. So they'll recommend it. The CDC says it's okay to prescribe for men who have sex with men and transgender women or bisexual men. CDC doesn't have a recommendation yet for women. I don't do it because I don't want to put that much antibiotic in my body. And I don't think it's good for your system to have that much antibiotic in it. So for me personally, that's a choice that I make. It was offered, and I just said I'm not interested in
It
that.
was offered when you got the shot.
No, no, no. So somebody has offered to write me a script for DoxyPEP, and I just said no. I don't want to do that. I'm very safe when I have
Mm.
sex. I'm very adamant about using condoms, and for me, I don't feel like I put myself at risk in that way. I test very often, and I make sure I go to parties where people are tested.
Mm.
So I don't feel the need to put myself on a cycle of doxycycline.
Right.
But the problem with DoxyPEP is that we already have a antibiotic resistant strain of gonorrhea. And I think the latest stat I saw was like 25% of gonorrhea is antibiotic resistant
That's
at this
crazy.
point.
What?
So,
That's a crazy.
yeah. And so I think when you're getting a bunch of people taking antibiotics prophylactically, you're running the risk of creating more antibiotic strains, antibiotic resistant strains, rather.
So I've always wondered that with like, so have you ever taken DoxyPEP?
No.
Like with these like DoxyPEP, PEP, PrEP, the more and more people take it, will the viruses just evolve past?
No, I think we're okay with PrEP, to be honest,
Okay.
and I think we're okay with PEP, because it's sort of like an emergency contraceptive type thing, right? It's like the morning after pill for HIV exposure. I just worry about antibiotics because those aren't antibiotics. I worry about antibiotics because our bodies do adjust and adapt, and we do create superbugs and super strains. We've seen it with how the flu morphs year after year, right? How COVID has changed in iterations over the past few years. So what happens is we become antibiotic resistant and then we're in trouble. So to me, the idea of taking an antibiotic, and also if you've ever as a woman taken an antibiotic, like
Yeast
your
infection
Right,
body doesn't
right.
instantly.
take it well. Yeah, a
Mhm.
lot of women instantly get yeast infections. Your body, you have gut problems. I know people who've taken it and have complained about 6 months of not feeling great
Mhm.
afterwards, having gut issues and
Yeah,
whatnot.
it's
So
because it's not targeting just the one thing you want. It's like blanketing going after.
it's putting medication in your body,
Uh,
and sometimes your body doesn't need that medication, and you have your natural antibodies and your natural defense mechanisms inside your body, and sometimes you just don't need more antibiotics on top of it. So to me, if there's nothing in there to fight, then why am I putting
Right.
medication in my body?
So what do we do with the 25% of people that have gonorrhea that are like,
No, it's not 25%. It's just 25% of the strains don't have a risk. Yeah, no, it's not
oh my
25% of people
gosh.
have it.
Okay, I was like, what the
No, 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 no.
fuck?
It's
Okay.
the 25%. I think that was the statistic I saw. The
Okay.
25% of the strains, like a 20, like when you have it, 25% is antibiotic resistant at this point.
So the
We're building super
what
strains. Is what we're
happens then
doing.
if you have a strain that's antibiotic resistant? What do you do?
I don't know what the medical advice is at that point. I don't know how they get to it. I would imagine they try something else
Uh-huh.
or they figure out how to manage it. I don't really know.
We
I
have an
don't.
OBGYN coming in next. We're
Yeah,
gonna
you should
ask her.
ask
I'm
because
yeah,
gonna
I
and
don't
ask
know
her.
what you
and the
do.
crazy thing, and like, and I'm glad that OBGYN's coming on because I mean, you just said something great where it's like sometimes people think their doctors don't know what they're talking about, but the doctors are trained to look at what the research says and see what the CDC says,
Hmm.
and then they practice medicine that way.
Right.
But if there hasn't been enough testing done on that, so for example, you said DoxyPEP has not been tested
And
in
there's not
women,
significant testing on women. It's not. It hasn't been recommended for women.
then it's challenging for your OBGYN to therefore say, hey, you should be taking DoxyPEP or you shouldn't.
Yeah.
And it's not their fault. It's that the industry has not caught up to this treatment because it's not what it was, used for. It's like when everyone started taking Ozempic before they had really tested it for people who were 120 pounds. Like that's not who they had tested it on.
I'm still convinced we're gonna find out something gnarly about that. Well, GLP-1s in general. I have a just a
Like it feels too
suspicion.
good to be true.
Yeah, yeah, that we're gonna find out that there's some it's not as good as it is made out to be. I mean, I think it's doing good things for people right now in terms of helping them combat obesity and getting their weight down. But
They're using it for addiction and depression now.
yeah, I mean, it cures everything.
Right. That's
And that's the
almost.
part that makes me
Yep.
nervous. There's nothing that cures
How many
everything.
people are on it? Do you know?
I
Like,
don't
have
know
you
how
ever
many
seen any
people.
numbers?
No.
Mm-mm.
God, I don't have my phone.
I'm not
I would.
I don't have a pattern kink like you do. I don't know numbers or
No,
any
but
of that.
You're not a Chat
but I
GPT
have
super
heard
user.
it like
No.
recommended or suggested for things that are off label, and I'm sure addiction is one of them, right?
But they do that with other stuff too. Like again, I'm glad we're having OBGYN, but they'll prescribe birth control to treat a number of things because
Oh
it'll
yeah,
treat a
for
bunch of
sure. Yeah, they've been doing
the
that
one.
forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, I hope it's fine
I mean, there's
because
plenty of
everyone's
stuff that
on
they use
it.
off brand, right? There's plenty of medication that we are off label, whatever, not off brand, but off label, right? Or
Mhm.
The DoxyPEP supports, but it's not. I mean, you said like it's not as. Look, I'm gonna get these numbers wrong, but I think the numbers were like 80 something percent, 70 something percent, and then 55% effective against like
gonorrhea.
chlamydia. This
Yeah.
and the gonorrhea was the last one.
Yeah.
And so even though you're taking it, it's not like condoms where condoms are
No.
99.99% effective.
No. You're helping to mitigate your risk. I mean, look, we have a mutual friend who takes DoxyPEP and just got tested positive for gonorrhea. So,
Yeah.
what does that tell you? Like, it's just not.
Right.
It's a gamble.
Well, it's a coin. It's a gamble. It's a coin toss. I would
Yeah.
use condoms. So, are you doing a lot right now to re-increase condom usage in the community?
We're trying. We're trying to figure out how to make condoms sexy again. And I
Mm.
know that that's a difficult thing to do because people have gotten used to having sex without condoms, especially in the community where men have sex with men because they have PrEP. They've sort of thrown condoms by the wayside.
Yeah.
But it's a really good idea to use a condom to stop the spread of STIs.
Can you still get an STI with a condom?
I'm sure you can get, yes, I'm sure you could
Yeah.
in some capacity if
Sure.
there's, gosh, it reduces your risk tremendously. So I don't want to say it's foolproof because nothing
Yeah,
is.
when used properly.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Right.
And like, how often does, you have problems with condoms too, right? They'll fall off, or somebody doesn't put it on properly, or somebody gets soft and the condom falls off. It happens.
Yeah. Or-
Poor guys.
It happens. So
it
yes,
does.
could you transmit something if that happened? I'm sure you probably could if somebody had something and the condom wasn't used
Mhm.
properly or malfunctioned in some way.
I'm just
but
thinking of like giving blowjobs with a bunch
that's
of
the
condoms.
challenge.
Like,
Yeah, nobody's doing that.
no one's doing that.
Nobody's doing
So, what
that.
do you think about as women? What are your thoughts on that?
Giving a blowjob with a condom?
Yes.
Oh, terrible.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do
If
that.
I was like, hey, this is what I prefer though.
Oh,
and
I would do it if that's
you
what
would
you
do it for
prefer.
me.
100%. I would do it with just as much enthusiasm,
Mhm.
but there's nothing like a real cock in my mouth. Like nothing really beats that.
Still a
but
real cock.
I don't know. It's wearing
It
like
tastes like rubber.
yeah.
It's the taste.
It's wearing a jacket.
But you've
Like,
gotten
take your
but
jacket
the
on.
jacket's on when it goes inside of you, and we've all
I don't.
kind of gotten
That
past
doesn't.
that.
Yeah, but that doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not tasting it, and
There's
it's
something about. Oh God, you can't.
What? No, this is great.
There's something about the feel and the taste and the I can't believe I'm saying
Of
this out
rubber in
loud.
your mouth.
No, it's just of having an actual body part,
Yeah.
right? As opposed to having it wrapped in latex
Yeah.
or some latex alternative. And you can't get the nuances. When it's wrapped up,
Yeah.
it's just cylindrical. You don't get the little nooks and crannies.
Yes,
Right.
like give me the head of the penis. Let me lick under the head. Like I want to do
can't
all
get in
those
there.
things. I want to get sloppy. I want to do all the So
But you
it's-
mean the texture, the veins,
All of it, yeah.
Yeah.
The stuff that makes it really pleasurable. You're losing that. And that's the problem. And nobody's having. I mean, if you asked me to do it, if a guy asked me to do it, absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm look,
we're team players.
I have a praise kink, so yeah, like you tell me I'm a good girl, I'll do whatever.
Yes. Yeah. I also feel like if I was giving someone a blowjob with a condom on, which I have done before, and I've had to stop myself from like chewing on it. Is that weird?
No,
It's
that
'cause it's
makes sense.
rubber.
It's rubber. So-
And, like-
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant you just like chewing on. You mean when there's plastic there?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Like the condom makes me want. I want to gnaw on it, which you would love. I know, but like I just want to like. It's not the
Oh, that's
same.
right. You do like that.
He does like it.
This is not
He's
a
a
kink
big fan.
episode.
It's
Okay, but what?
It is
So,
now.
so then, yeah, this is always happens. Like we start off with really smart, and then we turn into like
We get
dumbass
so
freaks.
silly.
But okay, so let's say we were playing,
Yes.
and then because it is nice to when you're not using a condom, like pull it out, go in the mouth, play around and go back inside. If I do that with a condom on, are you like annoyed that I did that happened? Like if a guy's playing with you and he
No.
pulls it out, would you suck it with the condom on and then go for fluidity purposes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. Absolutely. I mean, I don't have a problem. I wouldn't demand anything. I
No, I don't have a problem at all. As long as, like Jackie said, as long as I'm getting my good girls and I look sexy doing it, like
fine by
I'm
me.
doing this shit for me. Like I've said before, like no one turns me on the way I turn me on. So like it's not really, I don't really care, I guess. I prefer without a condom for sure, but like as long as you're giving me the good girls and telling me how hot I am,
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, suck that condom like a good girl.
Okay,
Yeah,
honestly,
yeah,
stop.
We need a
chew that
moment.
rubber. You like that rubber?
I'm ovulating. Stop.
Yeah, that's
It got
yeah,
really warm in
that's
here.
Oh
skins right
my
there. That's skins.
God. We're like not on our notes or
So,
anything.
and I didn't know this. Like, I learned so much about AHF
Mhm.
because we're friends now, and I love that. And then you hit us up. You're like, "Yeah, we're doing a performance. It's like a Mamma Mia cover." Or like, I don't know. It's like a Mamma Mia cover or like burlesque show or something like that. And I think there's a tour related to it. Can you? Because I don't think people know this side of AHF.
No, it's great. So in 2009, we created a holiday called International Condom Day, and it's February 13th, and it's an actual holiday. It's the day before Valentine's Day, and it's to celebrate having safer sex. We started doing these shows, and the last 3 years, it was a burlesque take on West Side Story. It was a dance extravaganza. It was terrific. And they did it for 3 years. They toured it in the South, the West, and the North, like our regions. And that does for 3 years, and then this year, we're doing a burlesque take on Mamma Mia. It's called Oh Mama. It is
Love Mamma Mia.
starring Kylie Sonique Love, who won RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star Season 6,
Wow.
Sharon Ferguson, who was Prince's original Pussy Control dancer, Lindsley Allen, who was Darling Nikki, who danced with Prince, and then a few
Wow.
other dancers, and then 4 of the features were also in the movie Showgirls. And they're doing this take on Mamma Mia that is a burlesque, sexy, safer sex performance. So there's some music from the show, there's some parody numbers, there's some modern music. And it'll be I haven't seen this one yet. I want to sneak into rehearsals if I have time. I haven't seen it yet. I've only just kind of seen some of the previews. But West Side Story was amazing. That version was so good. And it's the same choreographers and the same yeah, so it's gonna be terrific. I'm really
When is
excited.
this?
It's Jan well, here in LA. It
Oh,
starts in LA for a preview. It's Friday night, January 31st in LA. Then it goes to Orlando and then St. Petersburg, and then it goes to Atlanta at the end.
Are the dates up for the other
Yes.
cities and
So you go to
locations?
ahfevents.org. All of the dates are up
Okay.
there, and it's free tickets. It's all free.
oh.
Yeah. And it's just first come, first serve. So people wait in line and they get their seats. And
Why
it's
is it
a
free?
because it's a public service, because we wanna raise our profile and we want to encourage people to have safer sex, and so we put on these sorts of events to get people to turn out. It's PR for us, and it's PR for safer sexual health.
I
So,
love that.
that's the way that we
Love Mamma Mia.
yeah.
Saw it on Broadway, no big deal. Was also in a show, West Side Story. I was just a backup dancer because,
Wait, when you were like a kid or
yeah, not like as an
okay.
adult, but
Like,
like in
I mean,
high
it could be as
school.
you're an adult. I don't know.
Like in high school, I did West Side Story, which was so fun. And yeah, Mamma Mia. I was like listening to an ABBA song on the way here. I fucking live for Mamma Mia.
We'll list the site
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
show
yeah.
notes for people that are not based in California that
Yeah,
want to
no,
go
no,
see
no,
the
it's
show.
gonna be in other cities, so see it in
I'm
St.
excited
Pete,
to see it. I know
Orlando,
nothing
Dallas.
about Mamma Mia.
You're
You
gonna
You
know,
love
haven't seen
it.
oh, it's
no, never seen
it's really
it.
fun.
I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
saw
yeah.
Wicked for the first time. So,
Really?
yep.
The
So,
show,
no, I
the
haven't seen the
movie.
show. That's people always ask that. Like, is
Yeah,
the
there's a
movie not?
I
difference.
haven't seen the
y-
movie yet. I heard it's
I
amazing,
saw the
but
Broadway.
I've seen the
I haven't
show.
seen the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about condoms a little bit if you guys have
Please.
time to
Oh
talk about
yeah,
condoms,
we
just
do.
about
Yeah,
the
no,
the
we're good.
different do we have time?
Yep.
It's sort of the decrease in use in condoms, except it's the default in our community. Like the parties that we go to, it's expected that everybody's going to use a condom.
Right.
And I think there's a stigma of people who don't use a condom or who ask not to use a condom. Or if somebody turns a condom off, we call it stealthing and they're asked not to come back. So in our community, the default is you use a condom. But I think in other communities, especially in the gay community, the default, I think, is not to use a condom. And so we were trying to figure out why that is. And I have a theory, and you tell me what you think about this one. It's because women are leading the charge to use condoms
Ooh.
because we don't want to get pregnant and because we tend to be more attentive to our own health.
Mm.
So we're the ones who have started like if it were up to men, I don't think y'all would use condoms.
Mhm.
And most of you, maybe not you, because you're very particular about these sorts of things. But I think if you left it up to men, men would just be like, fuck it, I'm not using a condom. And I
Mhm.
think now that when women are in the mix in our community, we're more inclined to insist that there's condom use.
I could believe that because I think women are naturally a little bit more mindful about particular things. And I have a suspicion that men may feel more the heat of the moment and to be like, oh, that's future me's problem, where
Yeah.
women perhaps might be a little bit more mindful.
But I will also say in our community, we have been emboldened to speak up about it. Because
Right.
I think that when you're just out dating, but when you're not in this community, you're probably more hesitant to say, let's use a condom.
Mhm.
I think there was, especially when I was younger, I know there was always this fear of like rejection, or is it uncool, or does it ruin the
Right. They'll
vibe?
be
Or,
bummed out.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is he not going to like me as much because I want to use a condom? When you get into a community that is very sex positive, that is encouraging you to lean into your sexuality, at the same time, it's also encouraging you to lean into the things that make you feel brave and strong, right? So
Mm.
it's not only empowering me in my sexuality, but it's empowering me to speak up for myself and take care of myself. And I think this community has fostered that sense of, yeah, not only ask for a condom, demand it, and it's
Mhm.
okay, and that's sexy. So I think that's a differentiation too, is that in this community, it's kind of it feeds off each other, right? We've created an environment that makes women feel emboldened to ask for what they want, and what they want is to be protected.
Yep. I feel like since I've been in lifestyle and being more open about what I want, what I don't want, learning how to say no, learning about my own particular safety, I've
Mhm.
able to take those tools and apply it to so many other aspects of my life and being like, no, this is what I want
Mhm.
and this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I don't really care if that makes you uncomfortable.
Well, if you think about out in the real world, it's always been male driven, right? You go to a bar, you go to a party, like men sort of dictate the energy in the room. We had to create spaces where women felt empowered. And that's when parties started popping up. I remember going to parties in New York a very long time ago where it was like a female driven party where single guys weren't allowed in. You had to be part of a couple, single women could come. And the vibe was that women kind of owned the room. And it was the first place that I ever experimented. It made me feel safe to do that. But I think that we're now creating those spaces. And there's lots of communities who are doing it. But I think part of that is, look, women have to say yes in order for men to get laid, right? So you got to make the woman comfortable or she's not going to say yes.
Hmm.
So that's part of it too, is how do we make the women comfortable enough to want to have sex?
Right. And I think we are creating the potentially like the new standard of how this lifestyle should be, essentially. Like I came into this friend group and that was the standard where women are going to say what they want and what they need. And then everyone's like, okay, cool. But if I didn't walk into a group that was like that, I wouldn't be where I'm at now,
So I'll chime in. I feel like I've been a fly on the wall for a moment. So,
says the man in the room.
but you're right because maybe I am different.
Mhm.
Because of some stuff in my family with HIV. I have a different relationship with STIs than a lot of people do.
Hmm.
And it's like the last thing I want is to tell my mom I have an STI,
Right.
right? So because of that, my entire life been overwhelmingly cautious, even as a single person, which is why I use condoms, which is why I think I never ended up with like kids out of wedlock. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
so many benefits to that
Sure.
in my life. And so I also think that in the play space for me, like I've never asked someone at a party, like, hey, do you want to go without a I've never asked. I've been asked by women occasionally, but I'm not gonna be the one to unless we have that pre-established relationship from
Mhm.
before this party, I'm definitely not gonna ask at the party
Sure.
to
Right.
do that. But I do think that you are onto something that if I had to guess who was asking the question, even at parties, it'd probably be coming from the men more so than the women. The other thing that I wanna bring up here is that, like, I don't know how much it is about STIs as it is pregnancy, like you
Hmm.
mentioned. And one thing that I thought and I came in my ignorance, right? Like, I assumed I assumed, like, everyone in porn's on birth control, and everyone in
I
the
would
play
think that that was
space
a
is on birth
safe
control,
assumption, but
and I don't think that they are. And in fact, like, what I've been finding out recently and, like, Layla said, we're gonna have an OBGYN come on. Like the number of people who are playing that are not on birth control has like shocked me.
Really? I don't know that I've ever asked.
I'm not on birth control.
Yeah, I'm not either.
But but also like can get an abortion. It's like
So that's and like that we're gonna save that because I don't want to.
I think my kid
That
having days are probably behind me, so that's that's why I'm not on birth control.
I just don't want a
But
bunch of hormones in my body. It was making me feel crazy,
yeah,
and it was the twins that were talking to me about like getting off of it. And so I got off of it and
you feel better.
I feel better,
Mhm.
but I also don't let anybody come inside me.
Yeah, well,
I know I
that's
can still get pregnant still, but I don't let guys come in me. But I also know that I have the control to do something about it if I do get pregnant. Whereas, my husband will be dating new women and I ask, are they on birth control? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, you better
that's
fucking
important.
find out
right,
because I
right,
know what I'll do. I don't
No,
know what
and you don't
she's
want him
right.
to
gonna do.
Her,
father a
it's like
child with
her
somebody
body,
else.
it's her body, her choice at that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so I've been, my wife feels the same way. Like she starts to worry about other people. So unless you're like really, really tight with us and we have an idea of how you'd handle it, then that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Um,
I got propositioned for a foursome. It was a couple and a single guy I hadn't met before. And I looked him up. Then I realized we had a mutual friend. And so I contacted her and I said, what do you know about this guy? And she said, he's young, adorable, and he doesn't like to use condoms. And so we started talking. And I said, I don't think I can do this because that's not the way I roll. And the couple said, well, what if, we all don't, but you do? I was like, no, no, no. Mm-mm. Like, that's not an environment that's comfortable for me. So you'll have to find somebody else.
and so when that goes to your mind though, what are you thinking about? Is it your own safety with them? Is it thinking about everyone else they might have played with before they
Yeah, I have no idea
came?
who they've played with before me. I
Yeah.
have no idea. And it's not worth it to me to risk it. So for me, and I'll fluid bond with somebody if we've been together for a while, if we're using condoms with everybody else, if we're having some sort of connective relationship. Like I'm okay to go without condoms if we're dating, but you got to be using a condom with everybody else. And so my theory is if he's not using a condom with me, who else is he not using a condom with?
Right.
Because we don't know each other.
Right.
There are people that I love in this play space that I don't play with because they don't like to use condoms.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not interested. And they're not interested. They don't want to have sex with me with a condom.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to have sex without one. So I
Right.
adore you, but it's not going to happen unless one of us caves, and it's not going to be me.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had experiences like that when I'm really into someone like at a party and then they, we start playing and then they'll like start to put it in. And I'll be like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Hmm.
Did you put a condom on? And they'll go, oh,
Yeah.
really?
You're like, nope.
Dried up. I'm dried up. My safety isn't a priority to you.
Yeah.
I'm not having sex with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And I know for a man, it probably doesn't feel as good. For me, like, I don't care. It feels just fine. And I was actually reading an article. I thought this was really interesting. Is that what do you remember about a sexual encounter? Do you remember the feeling or do you remember everything around the feeling?
Ooh,
That's
everything
a
around the
great
feeling.
question.
Because
Yeah.
you're not remembering the feeling of the condom.
Mm-hmm.
You're remembering how you felt being in that moment.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's totally true.
So why not wear a condom?
Do you relate to that, Brian?
Yeah, I do. I think like, you know, uh obviously I don't think about other people when I masturbate, but
Okay.
So
if I
we think.
did, I'd probably think like, her ass looked like this. I remember the jiggle. I remember the look in her eye. Like I probably wouldn't be thinking about how it felt at that moment,
I don't know
you
that
know,
anybody does. No, you think about the
hypothetically.
scenario.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think
Hmm.
about how it made me feel, but I don't think about the feeling itself.
Or the vibe, or the
Yeah.
whole vibe, like, yeah, now I'm having memories pop up in my mind. Yeah.
Now he's distracted. My
I'm
work here
totally
is done.
distracted. Yeah. I'm gonna go to the bathroom real
Brian's gonna
fast.
be
Just gonna.
speechless for the next 2 episodes.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for staying with us for extra time.
Oh,
We
I would stay all night.
we
I know. I
I
wish we
love hanging out with
could.
you guys. It's so fun.
and we always learn so much when you're on, and thank you for being so open. We're
It's
so glad that
fun.
we have someone like you that's
Mhm.
working in
Yeah.
the industry that you are, and making such a big difference.
I do a little
And
bit.
keep going. Let's make condoms hot again,
Yeah, let's figure
Yes.
out how to do that
like
because that's
sexy condoms.
yeah, we got to figure that out. I don't know what
A
the
little
answer is, but
rhinestones or like a
yeah,
like
that
lace
textured.
condoms.
We're
I
not
don't
gonna
know.
do this right now, but I went to kinky comedy the other day,
Uh-huh.
and one of the comedians was one of his jokes was he was just like reading condom reviews off Amazon,
Oh,
and they
funny.
were
Are they
hilarious.
fun?
Yeah, the things that I'll try to find one and post it, but one guy was like, he was saying the reasons why he won't give it a 5-star review. It's only 4-star. He's like, I have yet to find the perfect condom for me. Like, it was just so funny.
Condom
People's thoughts,
connoisseur.
but it might be a good place to start. Like, let's read the comments and see what people even think about condoms, because there is no 5-star condom experience.
I have dated guys where we've gone kind of on the quest to find the perfect condom. Guys who didn't want to wear a condom, and it was like, okay, we're going to do this, and you're going to find a condom that you like. And there are certain brands that are more popular than others, and you got to find the right size that feels comfortable. And, they eventually, they look, they get to have sex, so they
Yeah,
cave, right?
exactly. Shut up, bro. Just
Right.
like you're getting laid. This is all bonus.
Right.
And there are custom condom brands. I saw
Of course. Well,
one.
AHF has its own condoms.
Right.
We talked about this
No,
last
we
time.
did, but I'm saying like I can get custom made condoms for my size.
Oh, you
I
can.
haven't looked it up, but I saw a condom
I have
at
to imagine that's a thing.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and I saw it at a party, right? Because like at the parties there'll be a bowl, and there's like so I'm like looking for the one I want, and then I was like, what
Did it
is
say
this?
Brian on it?
No, it didn't say
Can
the
you
name,
imagine?
but I was like looking around, like whose custom condom is this?
Like
It's
Joe? Joe? Did
bespoke,
Joe
yeah.
lose a condom?
So
Looks like a Magnum.
that
Honey, you might want to get with Joe.
let's add that to the list of follow up. I want to find
Let's do
and I'm
it.
gonna try one of these like your size condom brand.
I wonder
I
if you have
bet
to do the
like
mold. Do you do like the dick mold?
You'll have to.
I
And
don't
then
know.
You'll
Or
have to.
you're scanning, but then you got to get hard. I want to go through the
I'll help you
process
out.
and
I'll help
thank
you
yeah,
out.
you do need a fluffer for that.
Yeah.
We did that. We did a dick mold of
Thank
a friend
you.
of ours.
The three of us will mold
Cute.
We'll figure this
and
out.
we'll get custom. Thank you for being on today.
Oh, it's so much fun.
And
We love you.
and when we get more questions, we'll have you back again.
I'm happy to answer them as best I can.
All right. That's another episode of the Mass Swingers, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you learned something today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until we see you next time, try something or try someone new.
That was a good one.